Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. You're welcome to this very exciting conversation. The superiority fight in intercultural marriage. Should your cultural identity determine if your marriage will last? This is a conversation today, and my guest today is going to be Dr. Hamaimbo, and of course, today, we are on the Afro Social Workers Forum platform, and we are going to be having diverse conversations on the different point of views. You do not want to miss this conversation, and that's why I plead with you to stay tuned. Make sure you share the link with friends, invite your brother and sister, because today is going to be fire. Stay tuned. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to our conversation today. And of course, the exciting question of this conversation is actually to find out what to do when your cultural identity plays a significant role in your marriage, so much that it can even determine if your marriage will last or not. Hey, you're welcome. Make sure you share the link, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to have you here. This is your Afro Social Workers. And of course, my colleague is not very well today, and that's why she will not be on board, Batemona-Abeke. But we have a special guest, and of course, someone you also know in the community, Dr. Hamaimbo. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. If I did not, pardon me, sir. How are you?
I'm very fine. I'm very fine. How are you? How are you?
I'm very fine. I'm very excited about the conversation of today. It has been an exciting journey till now, and I have observed in the community that, of course, we have intercultural marriages. We know that marriage is being ordained. Many people believe it's ordained by God. But we also know that why on earth some humans have the ability as well to misdirect or again direct marriage institutions in one way or the other. And one of these also is in the area of intercultural marriage. We are not only saying that in intercultural marriages, only these marriages have problems, but today our focus is on intercultural marriage. You're welcome to the platform, Doctor. Please tell us a little bit more about your person. Who are you? And what do you think when cultural identity plays a significant role in marriage?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. It's always exciting to discuss with you about some of our thoughts that we have on a professional level, but also on a personal, experiential level. Um, I'm Hamaimbo, Keith Hamaimbo. I'm a theologian. But I work more in the uh, political area. In German, it sounds better, Entwicklungspolitische Bildungsarbeit. And I do a lot of things in my community, in our Afro community here in Germany. Things to do with empowerment, but also anti-racism work, but also other things that I do with a lot of people, music and all such things. And it's always a great opportunity for me to contribute to our community, development of our community. And for me, I see everything that I do as a way of empowerment. Empowerment, which means I'm seeing myself or my African brothers and sisters in a situation whereby we know that the way we are living here in Germany, but also in our um, countries of origin, that we are in a situation whereby we really need to define the way the world looks at us by giving out information that challenges the way the world has been looking at us, but most of all, giving ourselves information that will make us strong and maybe just laugh at how others look at us because we know the truth about ourselves, we know ourselves, we love ourselves the way we are. And for me, so that's my stance to this. And then maybe your first question, I hope it won't be too much, but just so that I give in my thoughts and where my thoughts are coming from. Because when you asked me about this topic, to talk about this topic, it was difficult for me because I know that through my friends, maybe through own experiences, I can say a lot of things about intercultural relationships. I've been living in Germany for over 15, 16 years now. So I've got enough experience to talk about all those things. But the question is, whatever I'm going to say, if it's connected to my person, is it something that can be applied to another person? You know, that's why I tried really to use my literature, my experiences to combine all this knowledge and try to share with you. And one of the thing that I used a lot was a book from Sonia Stefek. She wrote a book. What is the book? Yeah, here. Um, she wrote a book called Schwarze Männer, weiße Frauen. Ja? Schwarze Männer, weiße Frauen, ethnologische Untersuchungen zur Wahrnehmung des Fremden in den Beziehungen zwischen afrikanischen Männern und österreichischen Frauen. Und dieses Buch wurde von Professor Jürgen Jansen von der Universität Hamburg herausgegeben. And, and here they're talking about relationship between black men, African black men, and white women from Austria. You know, and Austria, it has got a lot of similarities with Germany. And when you read this book, and there's no Austria there mentioned, you think it's really in German that all those things, all those interviews were made. And in these interviews, black men were interviewed, and then white women were interviewed. And then it should be clear from this that this is just as an empirical study. It's okay to take these two examples, but we can also switch these two entities to talk about even black women and then white men. And just to summarize what this book is saying, a summary is saying that um, um, Beziehungen, what is Beziehungen? Relationships between black people and white people, they are generally difficult. That's the summary of the book. They are generally difficult, you know. And it reminds me of one of my favorite comedians, Herpek Heckerling, who says, "Liebe ist Arbeit, Arbeit, Arbeit." Yeah, love is work, work, work. No matter how you love someone, but you always have to do something. You always have to be active. There's no end to it, you know. I like one Zambian song which says, which is called effort. Yeah, put your effort in your relationship. And this book is saying, even if love for anyone in the whole world, it's work, work, work. But when it comes to relationships between white people and black people or different cultures, then it even becomes double work. You have to even put more effort for that relationship to survive, you know. And at the end, the statistics, they show us that in Germany, looking at the whole society, relationships, looking at the number of people who are marrying and the number of people who are divorcing, the 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 the, the correlational values of intercultural marriages who are being divorced, it's more than those marriages, maybe between German, African people, or people from the Arabic world. So, kurz gesagt, yes, kurz gesagt, in summary, yes, intercultural relationships or the culture plays a very vital role in our relationships.
Thank you very much. Yes, intercultural, or you would say cultural identity plays a very vital role in our relationships. I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining our conversation. And the conversation today is the superiority fight in intercultural marriage. Should your cultural identity determine if your marriage will last? And we have been having now Kate Hamaimbo, who is telling us, Dr. Kate Hamaimbo, I have to apologize for that, who is telling us this. Yes, of course, every relationship needs lot of works, and that's why we said also before now that we are conscious of the fact that every relationship got their ups and of course their downs. But today we are specifically dealing with the conversation of intercultural relationship marriages, because we are observing also a kind of challenge in this specific relationship. Sir, and you mentioned also the fact that of course love needs work and work. Yes, that is true. Just like when you plant a flower or a tree, if you do not water it, it will not grow. I think that's the same thing that happens to with love. And the question for me is, if all marriages have this work, we have to do this work, put this work. Now, is there an extra effort, extra work that we have to put if we are in an intercultural relationship, and why this extra effort?
Yeah. Why this extra effort? The extra effort comes in because intercultural relationships, they are already overburdened by our own stereotypes and vorurteile. What is vorurteile in English? Stereotypes,
Stereotypes,
vorurteile, yes,
prejudice.
prejudice. So, which means if I come in as an African man with my own prejudice about European people, and maybe this European man or European woman comes in relationship with their own prejudices. And the most important thing is that sometimes we don't know that we have these prejudices. So sometimes even some white people who think they are so open to the African culture, they know African people, and they will never sometimes, or they will react very allergic if you
Mm-hmm.
tell them that that's a stereotype that you're reproducing there. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because mostly we learn these things without knowing. Unbewusst, So those are the things we take in relationships.
No, but
Mhm,
Dr. Kedge,
mhm,
you said, and of course that's what we said.
mhm,
We have to, and I thank you, Batemona-Abeke. She's not well, that's why she can't be with us, but she's at the background, and she says love is work, work, work. And that's
mhm,
what you insisted. Now let's take again back to the example, the prejudice. You
mhm,
get to, you are unconsciously, you have prejudice, and of course, we are conscious of the fact that we have to work, work, work on our prejudice. Why then don't we work on this prejudice, even though the
yeah,
sin
yeah,
to
yeah,
be unconscious,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that, of course, the
yeah,
flower can grow
yeah,
well?
yeah,
What hinders? Do you
yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And to get straight to the answer, what hinders us to look at those prejudices is that we think that just because we love someone, then there's nothing else that can hinder us from that love. There's nothing else that can disturb that love. So that's why there's some people who say, I married this black man. I don't see him as a black man, or I don't see her as a black woman. I see this person I love, and it's true. It's true. And many people can tell you that when you love someone, you don't even realize if they're black or white, But the fact is, how do those prejudices that I have or which other people of the society have, how do they affect us? How do they affect my partner? If I know, for example, that even if I love this person, for me, maybe I don't have prejudices. We are happy together. But if I'm sure that because of the prejudices in our society, my partner, then this man or this woman, um, their their daily life is so different from mine. They have to struggle more than me. They whatever, for example, if they're looking for a job, maybe they have to apply more than me. If they're looking for a house, they have to apply more than me, and all those things. So if I know those differences, if I know the difficulties that my partner may go through because of their cultural differences, then I may be open to look at the prejudices of the society, but maybe at the end, my own prejudices, you know. And this is one thing that, let me give you a good example, not a good example, I don't know if it's a good one, but
It's
an
an
example.
example. Just it's an
Yes,
example.
yes. I made a film, Ishke Malaise, a film about racism. And one time, this film was shown in a cinema in Bielefeld. And then after the film, I was going home now. One young man came running to me, one black guy. And then he says, "Thank you very much that you talked about all those things." I said, "Why?" Yeah, I was happy that my girlfriend was there. At least she could believe what I always tell her. She always refuses when I tell her about these things. So you can see that he's talking about this girl he loves. Maybe this lady loves him so much, but this guy does not feel that this lady is also is part of all the aspect of his life. For example, maybe this guy comes home and says, maybe on the street someone was looking at me funny, and then the lady says, "Yeah, but how? Even me, maybe they look at me funny. Don't exaggerate things." So in this case, this lady may never make an effort to learn about the culture of this person, or to understand how the society looks at this person. So that is one reason why people may refuse to work and work, because they don't want to see the challenges that the other person goes through.
Then does it mean, and now I want to stay again on this conversation. I like the
Yes, please.
conversation, and I like also the example, because it is really
Mhm,
bringing the thing right directly to where we want to go. I would
mhm,
also love to have more examples come in.
mhm,
Now,
mhm,
my
mhm,
question directly to this point will be, does it really mean that does it mean that when we are in this relationship
mhm,
and the person does not see, when he's not able to see, or she's not able to
mhm,
perceive
mhm,
what you're going through,
mhm,
because
mhm,
because she's not there or he's not there.
mhm, mhm,
Now he has never experienced it
mhm, mhm,
because
mhm.
of his privileges, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
because of his privileges. Now, does it mean that he's ignorant? Does this ignorance that he has not experienced it, can it
Mhm,
really cause problems, or we can overlook it?
mhm, mhm,
Do
mhm.
you get what I
Yeah,
mean?
yes, yes. So for me, after all the work that I've been doing, the books that I read, really about all these things, I come to a conclusion to tell anyone. Yeah, it may sound hard, but
Mm,
to tell anyone, if you refuse to know the culture of the other person, to know
mm-hmm,
what privileges you have in comparison to the other person, even if you love that person, even if you like this type of people, don't try to be in a love relationship with them. It sounds
Oh,
hard.
wow.
It sounds hard, but the truth is, if you don't know the culture of this person, if you think that the love that you have to this person is enough, then for me, it's also one of the factors that leads to this forgiveness, to the result that people don't talk about these things. Why? Because
Mm.
I think I saw a comment here which talks about privileges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
privileges.
from
Yes, yes,
Batemona-Abeke. Yes.
yes. Privileges. It means in this case that sometimes I don't even look at how other people from other cultures suffer
Mm-hmm.
or which changes they go through. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I think my privileges, it's like it's a standard,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my
Mm-hmm.
life is standard. I
Oh,
measure,
this is hard.
yeah, I measure everything that I see. I measure any person who is in my relationship according to that which I know. I have not learned to struggle so much in life. Everything is given to me on a silver platter. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let me give you an example of privilege and how it affects how people look at the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading an article from a white American lady. She was saying, I never understood what racism means,
Mm-hmm.
what racism means, um, until I met my black friend.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I never understood how he reacted to some things because I never made the experience that he made. So, for example, she
Mm-hmm.
says, one day I was driving and I went through a traffic light that was almost red. Then she says, this guy almost beat me. This guy got so mad. My boyfriend got so mad
Mm-hmm.
that I went through this red light.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, she realized that for this guy, going through a red light, for him, it means he was even afraid for his life because he knew that if the police they come and they
Came,
say
yes. He would
why
be the one to be accused.
yes, and mostly maybe his life is already in danger. But for this
Mm.
lady, maybe she has never experienced that before. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe she has experienced that before, but maybe at the end they just say, okay, just pay this and go.
Mm-hmm.
So if this lady does not know which fears this man has, then she may never even understand why he reacts to situations in this way. At the
Mm-hmm.
end, she may just say, he's aggressive. I think these people are just aggressive. This is what we always say. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, where is that coming from?
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, this is a hard conversation. And Batemona-Abeke says it starts with small things like
Mhm.
despising to eat or allow him to cook his fufu and fish, maybe
Yeah.
because it smells, or
Mm,
maybe because he has a specific smell that they are not
mm,
used to, or it
mm,
looks
mm,
different, tastes
mm,
different, but
mm,
it's okay for
mm,
her to cook her sauerkraut and
mm,
knödel, which
mm.
also has a kind of strong smell, no? Especially the
But
sauerkraut.
may I say that sentence may look simple, but for me, it's a very important sentence, even what you commented. Yeah.
Mm.
Why? Because there are some people, and even in this book, let me just in this book that I was referring to,
Mm-hmm.
saying most of the men who were interviewed here, they were saying that they feel that the white women with whom they had something to do with, they understood which privileges they had, and they made sure that um, everything they did was going according to what they thought. For instance, they talked about weddings, that
Mm-hmm.
most of the women at the end, they wanted a European wedding. The
Mm-hmm.
African wedding was not
Yes.
considered. you know
Mm-hmm.
and for me, it's in such small things where my partner appreciates my culture, even if they don't understand it, but they let me live it because it makes me happy. you
Mm-hmm.
know and on to food and all those small things, especially for those Black people who have got children,
Mm,
it's very important that if I'm a white partner, I'm a man, I'm a woman, even if I don't like that food, but I should never show my children that I don't like that food. So, so,
yeah.
so, so it's the same thing. I should never show my children that I don't like the way my partner acts, maybe because I think he's Nigerian or he's Zambian.
Mm.
Yeah. So all those small things, those are the things we give even to our children, and how they look at themselves and how they love themselves at the end. Because, for example, if I'm a mother and I give my children an impression that the food from this country for me it stinks, it smells, then the children, no matter how the father loves that food, but they'll be disturbed or confused with such statements.
And that's what Dr. Jerry Kramer, she's historian, she's
Mhm,
saying it is
mhm.
also a play of power, a question of power.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Now let's come back. Let's have a balance between the play of power and love. Now,
yeah.
this woman loves you, this man loves you, and then she
Mhm,
has all these powers and all these privileges, and she is now using it against you somehow because and unfortunately when children are involved. Now,
mhm,
let's I don't want to put, let's say, black man or white man. Let's take the less privileged person. When
mhm,
you are faced with this problematics, with these situations around,
mhm.
how do you how can we solve that? Where do you get where can they get solace, comfort?
Hmm. Um, that's it will be interesting for me to know what other people may say, which experiences
Mm-hmm.
they had, because I think this is a question which really deals with life experiences and what worked for other people and what we didn't work for other people.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, one aspect of where to get these solace, or where to get the right information,
Mm-hmm.
is getting, maybe I can give already the Empfehlung, like in this book,
Yeah.
and that's also my position. In this book, one of the things is that we should try, especially people who are not from Africa, they should try to read about
Mm-hmm.
African culture,
Mm-hmm.
but don't read about African culture from European people
Yes.
or
Very
some European
interesting.
people. So,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I know it's not a verbum, but we have just formed this Black Library in
Oh,
Cologne.
of course you are supposed to talk
Yeah,
about it, no problem.
yeah. This
Everything
Black Library,
empowering for us is good.
yes, this Black Library in Cologne, because there we are saying we want only books from Black or people of color there. If there
Mm.
is another book from a person from a non-African descent, we put it there, but also write why we criticize this book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like in my case, there are some books I read about Africa written by some Europeans, whereby at the end I feel so angry. Why? Because I know just a lot of other information which is completely different. So if I've got a girlfriend, she's white, and she tells me I read a book about the Vice Maasai,
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, why? That's these are some of the books which even perpetuate the vorurteile,
Yeah, the
the prejudice
prejudice.
that we have. So I would rather you say, please read African books, but from African authors,
Perspectives.
so that you, and for many white people, such books, they're not easy to read, or some of them they don't accept it because it's for the first time that they see another way of presenting the African people,
Mm-hmm.
so that's one area, knowing the African literature from African people. The other part is the other part is sincerely looking for information from other people of the same culture where the partner is coming from. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if my partner comes from Zambia,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I know other people from Zambia, and I've got problems with this partner, the best person to go to is not anyone from any other African country. Maybe even it's better I ask, even you ask people from my country. this guy is doing this and this. How can I, is it just that, is that just his character, or is something that is influenced by the way he looks at the world because of his culture? If I go to other people from other African countries, maybe they may not even understand me. That's why even in Africa itself, people from different African countries, it's not automatically just because they are black that they will understand each other. No, there are also cultural differences there, you know. So even here, it's even, I don't know, some of you, maybe you have done it before, but I have been to some Facebook groups where white women who want black men are there, or black men who want white women are there. And if you hear how some white people speak about black people or black partners among themselves, you'll be surprised. You know, most of them, they just reproduce all those prejudices. So it's better you get the information from people of the culture where your partner is coming from. It may not be easy for you to accept, but it's much easier, and it will
Mm-hmm.
challenge you maybe. Yeah.
Mm. Well, this is amazing. This is a good tip.
Mm,
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here, you're married to, you have an intercultural relationship, then these are very important tips. Read those books, get yourself acquainted
mm,
culture, but using the perspective of the people of that partner of yours and not just any other perspective. And of course, get to network with the people from that particular
mm,
region so as
mm,
to really know more about the identity, the culture, and the lifestyle of the
mm,
people.
mm,
Remember, work,
mm,
work, work into
mm,
every relationship. Yes,
mm.
doctor?
Yes, yes. Because as you were saying, as you were talking, you reminded me of another point, which is a third point. Here is not only about the literature or the people that I talk to, but also I know a lot of people who are married to an African person, but maybe they
Hmm.
have never been to the
Yes.
country of this person, you know.
Hmm.
And then here in the book, there are a category of such people who were interviewed. And then
Hmm.
one lady, she said she went to, she had a boyfriend, they loved each other, and all those things, and she was open for his culture, and she decided to go with him in his
Yes.
country,
In
you
his
know,
country.
and that was Togo.
Hmm.
That was Togo. Yeah, I hope I'm not. Yeah, I think that was Togo. Yeah, and then she says, I reached there. We are talking his family. Then they start talking Ewe. You know, this language is also found also in Ghana, but also Togo.
Yes.
Ewe. And then she said, from that time I felt so out of place. I felt
Mhm.
like a kid. I felt helpless. It was the first time that I imagined how difficult it was for my partner in my country,
Wow.
where he didn't know German.
Hmm.
Until that time, I was just thinking he can learn the language. He's improving slowly, slowly. But
You
I
just
didn't.
think it's simple.
Exactly, it's
It's
simple, you
simple.
know.
There
Yes,
is no
yes.
foul. The kind of this.
Exactly, you know. So yeah, exactly, yeah. So it's these experiences that you make, you know. Like for me, I think I'm in a, if I was to get a German lady, I think I'm in a better position because I've been living here for a long time. At least
Mm,
I know how the society here functions. But the question is she going to know how my society functions? Is she
mm,
going to make an effort to know that also?
mm.
Mm,
And, doctor, when you were talking about this, I remember my husband, we're from the same, we're from Cameroon. My husband is also from
mhm,
Cameroon, but we're
mm,
from different parts of
mm,
Cameroon.
mhm, mhm,
And for me to understand his people, I made up my mind and I go for holidays. I
mhm,
go there, and
mhm,
each time I tell them I want to stay in his village, they looked at me and think, how do you leave Europe and then you want to stay in the village and not even in your own village, but your husband's village? And I'm saying, yeah, but I have chosen to love him and I've chosen his people like my people, and therefore I need to know him, know his culture. And yes, this is just to confirm the fact that if you
mhm,
indeed want to, you that is the work we have to put in, right? If we
Yeah,
get
yeah,
intercultural marriages, that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
additional work we put in.
exactly.
But I want to go back again to our yes, doctor, you want to say something?
You're saying nice things, which are just making me think more and more.
Go on, go on.
Like what you just said about the relatives of your
Husband.
partner.
Mm.
For me, that's a good example. But
Mm.
when I'm criticizing here, it should not sound that I'm just criticizing the part of the Europeans.
Yes.
Sometimes we should criticize our own people.
That's what we call
You know,
intercultural marriage.
exactly. So in your case, just imagine if you were a white lady
Mm-hmm.
and you go with your husband to Cameroon,
Mm-hmm.
your relatives may even react even more to that white lady. Why? Because this indoctrination of the world, where we think, where some African people even now think that white people are better than them. They will
Mm-hmm.
try, wherever they are, they will try to treat them as better. So even when a white lady visits you in a village somewhere, of course we have got this gas friendship, but some of our relatives may try to treat such a person as if she's special or he's special,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just amplifies their feeling that they are better than you. Why?
Yeah.
Because
Oh, oh, oh.
yes, we treat them as if they are better, which is not,
Yes.
which should not be true.
That's true. You're right. You're right. This is terrible. This is terrible. I really wanted to ask the question on allies and privileges. We have the concept, the Pamoja awareness concept against racism, and it really emphasizes on the importance of allyship.
Mhm,
And we were talking about the role of the privileged person, the one who has a privilege. How do we win the one who has this privilege to become allies to
mhm,
help his or her partner also overcome all these prejudices and all the challenges
mhm,
that intercultural marriages brings?
Okay. Um, for me, that's an important aspect when we talk about allyship. I may bring in things that may sound not to be coherent, but at the end it may make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Allyship, it just means that it's not enough to be against racism if you are
Mm-hmm.
a white person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough for you to say, I am in a relationship with a black woman, with a black man, so I cannot be racist. That's not the point. Even if you cannot be racist, but can you do something so that that racism from others will not affect your partner? You know, so in this case, it's just unfortunately, there are many examples of white people, white men, white women who decide to really stand up for their partners after their partners go through a bad experience. I hope you can hear me. Yes.
I can hear
So
you. I can hear you.
yes,
I'm just
yes.
in the
So
background.
let me give you an example. One time I was leading a workshop about racism, and
Mm-hmm.
it was about African families. And then this lady, I remember, she even started crying. Why? Because she said, I was in a train from somewhere with our children, and this Schaffner, the conductors, they didn't know, maybe they didn't see that I was with my husband. And
Mm-hmm.
immediately they started searching my husband in the train and all those things. And I could see it's not normal the way they started searching him. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted to join in, and she was put aside, and the children
Mm-hmm.
started crying, all those. So it was a bad situation for her. From that time onwards, she says, I will make sure I will never allow someone to do something to my man, or to someone who is maybe underprivileged, or to a black person
Mm-hmm.
just because they're black. But she,
Mm-hmm.
she had to go through this painful experience in order for her to experience that. So
Yes.
many of our friends don't go through those painful experiences. You
Mm-hmm.
know, let me give
And so they can't understand it.
no, no, at the end, because most of them they're just with us at parties, Afro what, blah blah, culture. We are dancing, yes, we dance also, but there are times whereby we are also crying. Those times we
Exactly.
need you also,
Yeah.
and those are the times when we don't see some of those friends, and that's why
Yeah.
I see most of my friends who post euer Schweigen, uh, bringt oder rettet uns, which means you when you are quiet, it does not help us in any way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
make sure you are loud and you mix yourself. Then you are going to be allies who
Mm-hmm.
fight with us. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, thank you so very much.
Mm,
And
mm,
also thank you for the example you just brought
mm,
in because it makes it again clearer for someone to understand what it
mm,
really means to go through the pains, the challenges of
mm,
intercultural marriages, but precisely when it
mm,
has to do with with marriages that also are involving the white people, and it
mm,
becomes very, very difficult. And
mm,
therefore, we
mm,
want every privileged white person in
mm,
that relationship to become allies.
mm,
And these
mm,
allies mean not only to see and talk, but really to take active actions on
mm,
behalf of
mm,
their partners. I'm hoping that someone is listening,
mm,
wherever you may be, that this conversation can be of help to you and, of course, help improve your relationship. Doctor, I want to ask a question on the psychological effect. Before now, we had Dr. Jerry who wrote something on the psychological effect of the trauma. And she said there is also a trauma of black and white marriages from a historical perspective. And this takes me to the question of what are the psychological effects of staying in a relationship that constantly reminds you of not being worthy, of not being, um, yeah,
mm,
part
mm,
of this universe that
mm,
God gave
mm,
us all?
mm, mm, mm. Um, I think to start that question on a positive level, not positive, but people who get away from such relationships, such psychologically abusive relationships, or that are not healthy. Uh,
Mhm,
there are people who, for example, let me give the example. Like in my case,
mhm,
um, 15 years ago, I couldn't have. I could have been one of those people who could have said, if I've got love, I can marry anyone.
mhm,
I don't care how they look at my culture, all those things. Why?
mhm,
Because I was not so conscious enough.
mhm,
You know, yeah. So and we also have a lot of um relationships which, how can I say it? Like how can I say it? I think it's from two ways.
mhm,
A relationship that reminds me of my power, but a
mhm.
relationship also that reminds me of my vulnerability. You know, uh,
Wow.
yeah. So of my power, for example, this has been observed especially in white men who want, for example, who like especially women who are not white.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, mhm,
those are on a psychological level, that's something you may call like Opfer,
mhm.
die Macht andere zu Opfer,
Power play.
power play, which means maybe this person, maybe they've got a very little stand in this society, but because they identify themselves with this society, and whatever they do with another person of another society, it's not them, but they think they're carrying their. So, for example, I'm a German guy. I go to Zambia, and whatever I do there, I think all these people, they are afraid of Germany. So I'm
Mhm.
not talking about me, but I'm talking
Mhm.
about where I'm coming from, my
The
system,
country,
the culture,
the whole
maybe
nation is behind you.
yeah, the powerful passport that I have, and all those things. So it even makes me even more arrogant. It even makes
Oh,
me,
that's power play.
I may not even listen to you anymore because ich habe mich einfach bestätigt in dem, was ich mache. And those are some of the people sometimes, they may even go to your country, they may even go and eat with your family at home, but they will not lose those prejudices that they have against you. Why? Because sometimes some of their interactions with us, they are just there to bestätigen,
To confirm.
to confirm their superiority. On the other side, we have got enough, especially in your area, Vera, especially in your area, when you do this beratung, especially in the case
Mhm.
of women, there are a lot of women whereby they came to Europe selbstbewusst,
Self-confident.
self-confident and all those. Then you get this white guy who has got the money, who provides everything for you.
Mhm.
They will do everything for you. At the end, you feel like a princess in a schloss, but you're not free, or a child,
Oh,
but you are just being taken care of. So it just even makes your self-consciousness even worse.
yes.
That's why, my last sentence is that, mostly, if you find a person who develop their self-consciousness as a black person, when they grow up,
Mhm.
mostly they may even lose most friendships they have
Mhm.
with white people.
Mhm.
Especially if you are radical, you say the truth about
Mhm.
your blackness. Many white people may run away from you, or
Mhm.
they may think you're aggressive, you don't love them. No. Loving your culture does not mean you hate the other culture.
Yeah.
Loving my African culture does not mean I hate the
I mean, it's
European
part
culture.
of your
No.
identity, right?
Exactly. So that's one last aspect that I wanted to say. Once you love yourself, be ready also to lose friends, those who don't accept your new self-development side,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your new confident.
your
Your
new
new.
confidence. Yes.
Wow, wow, amazing. When I hear you talk, Doctor, I'm asking a lot of questions. I had a conversation like this in the morning with a very good friend of mine in Cameroon, and we arrived. We were talking about inter cultural marriages, and he was like, "Vera, I respect everybody, but when it has to do with intercultural marriages, especially at the international level, not at the national one, but the international one, when it has to do with different people coming, white and black coming together, I have some challenges. Not because I hate the people, but because I know that at a certain point, you are looked down upon. Then I asked him, would you now say because of this, there should not be intercultural marriages? And he said, I would tell my daughter not to go for intercultural marriages, not because they are not good, but because of the fact that the culture can be a problem. The privileges that the other one has and not able to understand your pains, the challenges of the petit challenges seems to be petit, but that can be packed up together. And then the children that get into it, if we're not careful, they even get more lost. And this is my question to you. That was his conversation. That was his point of view. What do you think about intercultural marriages after reading all these books? Would you advise somebody to or not? And if yes, why? If no, why?
Um, it's a tricky question, but
But it
very
has both
important.
sides. It has
Yes, yes,
positive
yeah,
and negative,
yes.
so both sides are open to
Yeah,
it.
very important. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then one important thing about this question is its connection to love. We say love is blind, but
Mm-hmm.
each one of us, we know exactly that we are open for love in those places where we want love to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, if I say, love is, I hope the question, the the thought was clear, which means no matter what happens, but we choose. There are some, at least some elements that we choose that should be there. For instance, one of the statistics I was reading about intercultural marriages in Germany, they were saying, for example, marriages between people from two different cultures, they are difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find, for example, if you are a Christian, you are
Mm-hmm.
from Cameroon, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Christian, I'm from German, but I'm white, we may have
Mm-hmm.
problems. We may
Mm-hmm.
say, we may say our love is Arbeit, Arbeit, two times Arbeit, Arbeit. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are from Cameroon and we're a Muslim, and I am from German and I'm a Christian, our love Arbeit will be Arbeit, 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 three times.
Three times.
So yes, so this just shows that these cultural differences, they are just there. They are part of our life. They are things that we have to accept, because even in, there are things that we have to accept. There's nothing we can do much about.
Indirectly, sir,
Mhm,
indirectly, you're saying if I get married to
mhm,
intercultural marriage and get married to a white person, then the work is work, 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 work 4 times, not only three
mhm,
times. Now
mhm.
it will be more than 3 times, because then you have to first of all deal with the mental state
Yeah,
of mind of that
yeah,
person. You
yeah,
will deal with the unconscious
yeah,
prejudice that he or she brings. You will deal with the environmental prejudice that the environment of that person bring, and then you have to deal now with
yeah,
your own personal experiences that is bringing into that relationship.
yeah,
Ouch, that's
yeah,
four-time work, not three
yeah.
times.
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. That was a good summary from you, and just to complete my answer, because your answer was either yeah or no. It was really, your question was really clear, and to make the answer clear, also, I would think of, sometimes we need to be hard when we choose people from other cultures, from other countries, you know,
Mm,
and either hard or brutal earlish,
mm,
So, for instance, if I am here in Germany now and I've been
mm,
here living here since 15 years,
mhm,
and I meet a lady, a white lady here on the street, even if she looks nice, even if she speaks to me nicely, but for
mm,
me, I would test her. How does she look at my culture? Does she
mm,
know any good African author, African book, and all those things?
mhm.
Those small things are for me. If she says nee, das ist mir nicht wichtig. Das Wichtigste ist einfach, dass ich dich liebe. Then okay, nee, love is not enough in this case. Please,
The-
you know.
one boy, Mukui says that true love is blind, is a huge scam brought to
Yeah,
us, especially from the
of
West
course,
through
of course.
storytellings,
Yeah,
romantic movies.
yeah. Yeah, and it's true. We know that in all cultures, even kingdoms, they would say we want to marry that lady from that kingdom, because that when we marry her, they will never fight against us. All those
Exactly.
things.
So it's political.
Of course, it's political. That's why sometimes we say we are only open to love if we feel that love, or if we allow love here to happen. Of course, there are
Yes.
situations whereby you never expected it happens also, but mostly we make a conscious.
Decision.
Yes. So yeah. So I was saying, so that, why was I saying you have to ask all those questions to a person who says, I want to have you as a black man or as a black lady?
Yes.
Why? We're talking about white privileges. Most of our white people, sometimes they grow up without knowing their privileges. That, like, this book I like a lot. You can read this book,
Please
really.
give us the title of the book
Um,
so we can
um,
write it down.
yeah.
Why?
Why I am no longer talking to white people about race? Why I no
Okay.
longer talk to white people about race? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in this book, and it's the same from D'Angelo. D'Angelo, she's even on YouTube. She's a white American lady. Even on YouTube, she has got a lot of interesting videos. Uh, um, D'Angelo, where, yeah, Robin, Robin DiAngelo. Yeah.
Okay,
And
Robin
here
DeAndre.
she gives some examples why some it's not so easy to talk about racism to white people. And this
Mm,
also happens in relationships, you know, either they may some white people or partners may not accept that you experience all these racist things even when you go for shopping,
mm-hmm,
or if they do something that for you is racist or
mm-hmm,
reproduces racist thinking, they
mm-hmm,
may never allow you even to criticize them. If you
mm-hmm,
criticize them, it's as if you are also criticizing or questioning their love, which has
mm-hmm,
nothing to do with that, you know. So for me, I would say yes, I can marry, so I can have an intercultural relationship, but I want
mm-hmm.
someone who is strong enough to be questioned, to be taught, and open to learn about my
Oh,
culture,
white
about
fragility.
racism, exactly, all those things. Otherwise, everything else it may start nicely. Even in this book, I think I wrote it somewhere. In this book that they are saying
Mm-hmm,
most relationships they start without even considering these cultural things,
mm-hmm,
and then after some difficulties, that's when they start looking at those cultural things to start
mm-hmm,
trying to understand. But for me,
mm-hmm.
it's better you make that effort before it's too late.
This is so powerful,
Yeah.
doctor. This is so
Mm,
powerful that if you know you are having a specific liking and you're attracted to specific
mm,
culture, specific
mm,
people, then
mm,
it's so important to learn
mm.
their culture before
Yeah,
even getting there. It's
yeah,
important to have their perspective of the story. It's so important to also work with your white fragility. It's
yeah,
important to
yeah,
think
yeah.
about your privileges and how you'll be
Mm,
able to use that as an allyship and help
mm,
maybe your partner, and of
mm,
course work on the power structure in your mind, that you should not think that you're in a glass of power where you want to have a control over
mm,
everything. And then what fascinates me again in the conversation is the
mm,
fact
mm,
that you say marriage actually is a political thing and not just only love. And one boy says love was a scam game that was brought to. And this reminds me of a preacher who says that if you say love is blind, wait until you get into the marriage, then you realize that it was never blind. Then
yeah,
your
that's
two
a good
eyes
one.
will be
That's a
wide
good one.
open. I
Yeah,
like this. We are coming
yeah,
almost to
yeah,
the
yeah,
end. Ladies
yeah.
and gentlemen, such conversation goes so quick, and we are almost an hour now.
Wow.
Dr. Kate, tell us
Mm,
more. Give us the last word of encouragement.
mm, mm, mm,
Someone
mm,
is listening to you, listening to us, and he or she is in such a relationship and is really now confused. What do I do? How do I
mm,
go
mm,
about? Or again, a young couple, young people who want to think, they admire the other people, the other culture, the other people from other culture, and they want to venture into such things. What will you give them as advice?
mm, mm. I think in my African context, I think I'll be an uncle who tells you the hard truth out of
Mhm,
love, you know. And in this case, out of love for you, young person I'm advising, I would
mhm,
say love should bring you happiness.
mhm,
Yeah. And scientific research has shown, and all the statistics have shown, and at least even in my umgebung, in my environment, I
mhm,
know a lot of people who are in intercultural relationships who are
mhm,
struggling.
mhm,
Yeah, very few people can give perfect. There's no perfect relationship, but very good examples of, you know. So that's why
mhm,
for me, if I were to do a research, I would really do a research on people who say we have a good intercultural relationship. Then I'll ask them why, what happened,
mhm,
what can we learn from you? But
mhm.
up to now, if you look at all the researches that you find, mostly it's based on these negative um,
Yeah.
experiences. So the
Mhm,
thing, if I would advise a young person, I'll say, how would you look at these negative experiences that have been
mhm.
scientifically proven? Are you ready to go into that? Or what makes you different? What difference are you going to make there for you? Are you better than all these people who have gone through these difficulties? Are you ready to and I think my a thought that I had when you were just talking, I think it's not only about understanding or knowing your culture, but it has to go above that, accepting, understanding it, and accepting it even without judging. That's why.
Powerful.
Yeah,
Powerful.
there's this talk, there's this Rede Venung that I had from this Filipino friend that I had who would say no and let go, no and let go, understand and let go. Don't even try to
Now
put
that
yourself
one
there.
now is
No.
tolerance. And Goethe said we
Mm,
have to go
mm,
out of the aspect of tolerance and get to the point of
yeah.
acceptance, where you now have to
Mm,
accept
mm,
someone and you
mm,
criticize, because letting just go is not
mm,
enough. You have to be at the
mm,
position to interact and question
mm.
also that particular attitude.
Ah, yes, you're right. But letting go means I don't question that attitude according to what I think, according to
Oh,
my
yes.
prejudice. Yes, I
Yes.
really I should be free. Even whatever question I ask, it should not be about me, but I should be
Yes.
free from any attachment, from any judgment. That's where this let go comes from.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Can someone be that way?
I think most of us can be that way.
Thank you
You know,
so much,
I think
Doctor. We are
so.
going to be rounding up. I'm already getting
Okay.
2 minutes of our
Okay.
time, but
Okay.
as someone is asking the question, saying something here, next topic should be how to protect
Yeah.
children are
Yeah.
conflicted between two cultures,
Yeah.
and where the man becomes racist over time and tries to make the children feel like. Thank you so much, Fubin, or the
Mm,
Fubi. I hope I pronounced the name correctly.
mm,
Yes, Dr. Hamaimbo, I hope you take that question also to heart, and then
yeah.
maybe we're going to plan a next conversation
Mhm,
on
mhm,
this. But we are going to come to the end now.
mhm,
Please, a last word if you have something. Do you have something
mhm.
to say?
I think the last word I have is for people who are affected from racism or prejudice and those who are not affected, please
Mhm.
take your time to read Afrocentric books,
Afrocentric books.
Afrocentric books.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Thank you so very much. That was Dr. Kit
Mm,
Hamaimbo, and our conversation today was the superiority fight in intercultural marriage. Should your cultural identity determine if your marriage will last or not? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and thank you for staying with us. We can't complete this conversation in an hour, and that's why we are definitely going to reschedule another conversation again, also with Dr. Kate Hamaimbo, so that we can continue from where we have stopped. And of course, another episode will be on having the conversation and dealing with the children from such relationship. I thank you so very much for being here, and stay tuned for next conversations. God bless you and have a nice